All right, so we are here today with Linda, one of our amazing authors from the Stygian Collection, and she's all the way in Italy, and I am in Canada, so I'm very glad we've been able to make this connection with the time
Yeah,
difference. So
been a
welcome.
struggle.
Yeah, but I mean, I know you haven't been able to make a lot of our meetings, which sucked, so it's good that we can at least do this. So
Yeah, finally.
welcome, and let's start off just with you telling us a bit about you, about your creative works, and about your YouTube channel.
Well, the YouTube channel is another struggle, but I'll get to that. So I'm Linda. I'm 22 years old, and I was born and raised in Italy, where I still live. Creatively speaking, I've always been writing stories since I was little. And it's been my dream since I was a child to get published. So thank you for making that become a reality.
Oh, you're welcome.
And well, not much else. About YouTube, I've been trying to be consistent with it. I was doing better last year, but life has been happening more than usual this year. So yeah, I'll try to get back to it. I was planning on making a vlog this August, reading the collection for the first time. So my reaction on it. So
Oh, that would be great.
I'm manifesting that.
I will help you. I will lend my own energies.
Thank you.
I've fallen way behind on my channel as well with all of this going on and life. I think it's been 2 months since I posted something like that. So I definitely understand when things get in the way. It can be frustrating, but
Oh, no.
you'll get back there. And the stuff you make is great because I like looking at the different channels we have, because we have some that are very much just like straight up author tube, but you
Yeah,
also talk about true crime, which is one of my favorite
yeah,
things. So that's
yeah.
that's one of the other things you have on your channel, if anyone's
That's
interested in that.
that's one of the rabbit holes I fell into last year. Yeah,
Which is appropriate with
morbid
the
stuff.
the story that you came up with as well, I
Yeah,
find.
definitely.
So what,
Definitely.
I mean, other than always wanting to be published, what inspired you to contribute to the Stygian collection specifically?
Well, it actually came, the offer to participate in this actually came at a time where I was super obsessed with horror and everything, mystery and dark fantasy, especially. And it just felt so lucky, like it was meant to be a project that I needed to do. And this was so Italian of me. Oh my God. Um,
It's great.
um, Yeah. And so it just felt natural. Like I needed to do it because horror, um, I don't know if I ever really loved it. I always liked it, but last year with the whole true crime thing, I don't know. I just felt like it inspired something different out of me.
Hmm.
And yeah, writing horror especially is cathartic. And I loved writing the story and yeah, coming up with it. It was maybe the first story that I actually had a finale for. I
Okay.
don't know if that ever happens to you or other authors. I start writing a story and I never know where it's gonna end, and then I
Yeah.
leave it there, and it never finishes. This Zero Good Things is the first story that I actually finished.
Okay.
So
Well,
I don't know.
congratulations. I was a never finisher with my stories for a very long time. I finally finished something in 2020, so pretty
Yeah,
recently. So I
quarantine
understand.
was something
Yes, exactly. It's
for
when I
creative
started
work.
my channel and everything too. So it was like, all right, let's just really
Yeah.
get into writing and do this properly and actually finish something. So
Yeah.
I understand the struggle. And I mean short stories especially are difficult to just, pack so much into such a little space.
Absolutely.
And so it's great when you can do it. And you did such a great job.
Thank you. Well,
So
you also did a great job. I mean, you opened a whole indie press. That is
yes.
like crazy to me. Fantastic.
We've wanted to do it for a long time, so it's really cool to see it finally happening and to put
Yeah.
something out into the world. And I think we just had the best possible group to, to launch everything. It's been a really cool
Yes, yes.
project. Um, so without spoilers, do you want to talk a little bit about your story?
All right. Well, my story, the inspiration came from an experience I had working as, I would say, entertainer for village, like those type of holiday resorts
Yeah.
in Sardinia. And so I didn't know much about that region, but it has a lot of history and a lot of culture. And I was shocked at learning about the folklore, especially because it's very dark. It's very scary. And I was like, what the hell? There was a there was a Baywatcher there that would tell me stories about him going to the Carnival, which is in February there. It's not
Mhm.
the same as the rest of Italy. And well, depending on where you are in Sardinia, there are different masks and costumes that performers wear, and they're all scary. They're all scary. Um, and this kid, this Baywatcher, when he was a child, he was traumatized by going to the carnival. Like, there was um, a guy dressed as a bull
Mm.
that came right to his face,
Oh my
and
God.
he said he had he had nightmares for like the following years after that. And that story shocked me so much that I knew I needed to write something about it. And so I really wanted to have a scene, which in fact I did write, where this performer dressed as Bull comes up to your face and
Yeah.
it's super scary and traumatizing. Yeah.
I love the environment that you created because yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil it all, but you have this carnival and you have someone in the middle of it and just how do I say, like the way you describe kind of the chaos, you can picture it so strongly. You can picture everything that's
Thank
going on
you.
there. And
Yeah.
it pulls you in and there is that dark feeling, even though you're not actually seeing something, right? But you get that darkness and that chaos, even though people are celebrating and they're drinking and stuff. There's that edge of tension there the entire time. And that's something I really appreciated about what you did.
I'm very glad to hear it because that was like my mission. I started the story from the setting. So I just really wanted it to be descriptive and like feeling like you were there with me hearing that story, you know?
Yes,
So yeah.
definitely. And I think it was cool also what our artist came up with. She did all these miniature
Yeah.
illustrations, and there was one in there that I thought, oh, this is perfect because it was just this horrifying creature face, and we got to pair it with
For
your
sure.
story, and it just looks so great.
I think on my story there's the demon face, like kind of looks like a dragon, a
It's almost
morbid.
animalistic demon. It's very,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
Very
saw
cool.
that. I was like, this is the one for Linda's story.
Yeah, and she also drew the actual performer with the
Yes.
mask and the real costume, like the
Yeah.
traditional one for the opening of the sequence, like
Yeah, the
the
title page.
yeah.
Yeah. We didn't have this is something I haven't actually talked about in the interviews yet, but the title pages, we have three
Hmm.
parts in the book and yeah, each one has elements of the stories that you'll find in that section. And not everyone sent us stuff for them, but I was so glad that you did because you sent multiple photos and it
Yeah,
helped create a very cool title page for that segment, having that traditional
yeah, I
costume
really
in
love
there and
it.
the visual. Yeah, Lori did a great job.
Yeah, she did. Actually, I reached out to her
Oh,
because I was planning on getting one of the illustrations tattooed
oh yeah.
as like a tribute because this is just a crazy thing for me to happen, you know? I'm very proud of it. And so I want something to remember it by.
Yeah, I mean, you should be proud. You did a great job on this story. Like Pei, he's not here right now, but he and I just love it so much.
Thank you.
And it's a great I've been referring to it as, you know, a moment in the anthology. It's a great moment. And it's funny you mentioned that about a tattoo because my mom, our editor,
Yeah.
she, along with our social media manager and Pei, we were all just talking like, oh, we should have a Stygian Society tattoo. Should get
Yeah,
Lori to
right.
design something. So we might reach out to her, and if she comes up with something, we could always send the concept out to all of the writers if they want to get
That
something.
would be awesome. Yeah,
Then we'll really be part of the society then.
I'm down. Yeah, that speaks cold, but I'm down.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice to have a little edge of cult. We've already got our pins and
I mean, we don't fake being dark, you know?
exactly. That's the thing. It's a secret society. There's some dark elements and some secrets.
Of course.
The story about the festival, and you had also told me this was based on your time in Sardinia. Were there any other anecdotes? Like, did you wind up at this festival at any point? Did you see these creatures that added to your
Um,
inspiration?
I did see them. I also went to a museum
Hmm.
where they showed like the very, very first traditional costumes. It was
Oh,
very
cool.
interesting. Um, I will say I was mentally prepared for it, so it didn't shock me as much as it did the Baywatcher child.
Yeah.
But I can see why it's scary. Like there are some moments where you're like, what the hell is happening here? Like, why am I here? Just to suffer.
Yeah.
Um, no, for real. Like people get crazy. Uh, it's kind of like an excuse for people to really, how do you call those series of movies like where everything is legal for like
Oh, the
okay,
purge.
that's right.
Yeah.
um,
It's
it
just
kind
like
of feels like first.
an animalistic indulgence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I love it though because it's less maybe this is kind of taboo but like it's less Christian
Hmm.
and
I
more like
It's
you
very
know.
pagan.
Yeah, yeah. It feels different. It feels authentic. Like
Mhm.
people are just being themselves, and it gets chaotic, but it's also really cool, you know?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say that it reminds me of pagan festivals. I was recently rewatching one of my favorite miniseries, Mists of Avalon, which is adapted from a novel. And you see the characters who are, you know, magic workers who live on the Isle of Avalon going to the festivals that the, you know, regular people are putting on for harvest and stuff like that. And it's all, you know, dancing around the straw man and the flames. And it's
Yeah,
just there's something it's primal, right? And it can
yes,
be good to express that sometimes, even if it,
yeah.
you know, terrifies children.
It does, it
Yeah.
does. But it's good to let go of the persona that we all
Mhm.
have and just let go, you know?
Yeah.
Be
And
your
this,
animal self.
especially when you have that mask, it just adds the
Yeah.
anonymity to it as well. It's a fascinating topic to write about, I think.
Yeah, I actually did a lot of research about the history of it, and it turns out it was a very special occasion for women and people of color, people that were poor, because not all festivities were, you know, not everyone was allowed to celebrate Christian festivities and stuff.
Right.
But when it came to that specific carnival, it was just for everyone, you know,
Mhm.
and that's what's cool about it. And you just put on a mask and you can be whatever you want for a day. That's
Yeah.
just cool. There's no other word for it.
It is. It's very cool, and I think that it's something that appeals to everyone. So there's a lot of there's a lot of relatability in the whole Stygian anthology, and I love all the different things that we explore because our sort of tagline is about exploring the Stygian depths of your persona, right? And I feel like this story exemplifies that a lot, like finding this primal part of yourself.
Yeah. I think horror in general does that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
it's very personal when you think about it. That's what I love about horror. It speaks to your animal self, like the part of you that wants to survive. It teaches a lot about your values and stuff.
Yeah.
What scares you teaches a lot about what you want and who you want to be and all that. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very true. I was in a conversation God, last week, I think, about, why so many women like true crime. And I think
Mhm.
it's partially that, and it's also that you learn to be aware of a lot of darker things in the world through observing this, and you can even protect yourself through it, right? Like you're aware of that darkness, you're facing it, and you know how to deal with it, whether it's coming up in yourself or coming
Yeah,
at you on the street, or in your building or something like that. It just makes you aware, which is also very primal, because we lose a lot of that in our modern life.
it's a fascinating topic. I've been seeing kind of a trend lately of videos on YouTube against true crime.
Mm,
Like a lot of people speaking about how it's not ethical and all of
right.
that. Um, eh, it's a great discussion. I still don't know where I stand
Hmm.
because I love it so much that I don't know if I'm being unethical by loving it. It put a lot of doubt in my head, but I think it's good to have this kind of reflections.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah, because people bring up the elements of the victims, right? Like we shouldn't be focusing on, Ted Bundy over the people
sure.
who he killed. Or I know there's an ethical discussion about the playing of like 911 calls, that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
I can see the various sides of it, and I think that there's lines that we can be aware of, right? Like I wouldn't there was a time where I express a lot of things through visual art as well as writing.
Mhm.
So when I'm learning about serial killers, a lot of the time I'll draw them. And for a
Yeah.
while I was thinking, oh well, I'll sort of put this out in my shop and stuff. And then I thought, no, I don't want to do that, because
Mhm.
then it becomes this commodity, this sort of profiting off of that person. And so I think that's not so great. And any glorification, like when you see the people who are like, oh, he's so cute and
Sure.
stuff, like
Yeah, no,
like, no,
that's
it's
a
not
link too
not great.
far.
Yeah, but as something to learn about, it's something that's in our society. It's out there, and I think we can respect victims of crimes and still be interested in what the
Yeah.
killers have done and their pathology and everything like that. And I think that that's all right.
Yeah. I've always
That's
been a fan of understanding people, and I think that's why I like it so much because it's hard to understand a serial killer, like
mm,
their mind. Um, and I think that's part of being a writer, trying to uh it's it sounds like I'm making it cute, but I'm not trying to make it cute. Like empathize, all right? I'm not trying to justify their actions. It's not like I empathize with the killer, but
mhm.
like trying to understand where they're coming from so that you can also write from different perspectives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's that joke about, the writer's internet history for a reason, right? I think we're especially drawn to personalities that maybe we don't agree with and we don't understand, because we want to
Sure.
learn how to understand that, because as a writer, you shouldn't always just be writing about yourself. I mean, that's one of the first things you learn, right? You don't want Mary Sue characters, or Gary Stu.
Exactly.
You don't want to just be yourself all the time. So you have to sometimes take your brain to a darker place and try to, okay, what is this psychology here? What were they feeling? And it can be, you can wind up disturbing yourself,
Yeah,
but
it can.
don't spend too long in the darkest parts, and you come out of it and you can get some really amazing writing out of that. And I know some
Yeah,
people will look at horror authors and be like, what is wrong with you? It's like, no,
I
they're well
know.
adjusted. They're really good at empathizing and learning about
Yeah,
psychology.
I remember seen a lot of memes about, I don't know if you're into anime and manga, but
I used to be in a very big way, so I know the culture.
okay, so there's Miyazaki, right? The
Mhm.
one from Studio Ghibli, and
Yeah.
Junji Ito,
Mm.
who writes a lot of horror manga.
Okay.
Um, and he's my favorite. And the thing is, Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli is very dreamy, it's
Yeah.
very beautiful and
Beautiful.
cozy. And then you see his interviews, and he's always so nihilistic and with
Yes,
his
yes.
cigarette, and like angry at the world.
Yeah.
Um, but then you see Junji Ito, and he writes very disturbing stuff, like some of the craziest stories I've ever
Mm.
seen and very disturbing images. And then you watch his interviews and he's like this cute little puppy. He's so happy about everything. And he
Yeah.
just finds everything to be so cute. And it's like there's a lot of memes about it because I do feel like a lot of people tend to express their opposite side or who they would like to be in
Hmm.
their stories, in their creative work, rather than who they are.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
you
sort of
see this,
an ideal.
yeah, you see this bubbly personality, and then he writes the grossest stuff. And then you see someone who made House Moving Castle, and he's like so angry and
Yeah.
everything. It's
Uh,
it's crazy.
And he
Yeah, I
talks about
always find it
perfectionism a
fascinating.
lot, right? Like where he'll be like, "Oh, this isn't exactly right. It's done
Yeah,
for."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also something to say for on the darker end of things, being being more in touch with that darkness can help you be happier in life, which I think a lot of people uh, think is odd, but I look at I've been in the goth subculture for a very long
Sure.
time now, and a lot of the people in that subculture, you look at them, it's like they've got death surrounding them all the time, and they're going in graveyards, but they're happy. Like they're the happiest people
Yeah,
I've ever met, and they just sort of want to lie in the grass and look at the sky, and it's
so
just
funny.
because they're not avoiding it. It's like, yeah, this is coming, it's dark, I've faced it, I've seen it, and now I'm just I'm gonna live my life
You
even
might
more.
as well embrace it.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. So I was gonna ask you about the anthology, and we've talked about you being a part of this project and how exciting it's been. How do you feel about being a part of an anthology that features the works of other creators who are on YouTube, other authors, and being a part of this little community?
oh, I actually think it's the best way to get started because I got to know a lot of other authors, a lot of crazy talented people with beautiful histories, with beautiful creative work, and that I never thought I'd be lucky enough to collaborate with. Um, I think it's phenomenal. Like rather than writing my little story and publishing it by myself, being all alone. uh, it's cute that I'm part of something. It makes me feel more validated, I
Mm.
guess. Yeah. No, I
Oh,
love it.
that's so nice to hear because I really wanted to put that community element forward and have everyone communicate with each other and hopefully stay in touch past the anthology and be able to
Yeah,
collaborate
you
and stuff.
nailed it.
Well, thank you. Now that the anthology is out in the world, what are your hopes and your expectations about how it will be received, by people about people on the internet?
Everyone I know does not speak English.
Okay.
That's an issue.
We'll have to come up with some
But
translations.
I have some pen pals from like Japan or even the US
Oh, cool.
that have ordered the book already, and they liked it.
Oh, great.
So that's actually really cool. Like when people text me and they're like, "Oh, your story was I read your story was great. Your writing is great." I'm like, "What?" I when you have no idea that other people can perceive you and then they say something and you're like, I actually exist in other people's brains. Like, wow,
Hmm.
that's weird.
I know exactly what you mean. And getting your writing out there, writing is such a personal thing,
Yeah,
right? So once you put that out, it's so scary, but if people do get it and they like it, it somehow means more than like any other compliment that you could get because it is so
yeah.
deeply personal.
To be honest, though, I think I write in English because I don't really feel that emotional connection to the words, not as
Mm.
much as in
Oh,
Italian. It's weird to explain, but I
interesting.
feel like if I would write the same story in Italian, it would feel a lot scarier to make someone I know read it.
Hmm.
I don't know. So I that's why I admire you guys even more because you're really putting yourself out there. Like for real. I'm putting a small part of myself out there, I guess.
That's interesting. I was actually gonna ask, that was one of the things I forgot to ask you about, your writing in English and how that process was.
Yeah.
So now I hear that. Do you plan on eventually putting work out, outside of English?
An
In
Italian
Italian, yeah.
version.
Yeah, like or something else. Do you plan on doing any writing in Italian now that you've got something out there and it's done well?
I was thinking about it. I was thinking, well, if I managed to do it in English, maybe I can open myself up
Yeah.
to my mother tongue. Maybe. But it's a scary step for me. I don't know why. Um, Even my diary, like every morning I write like about 3 pages
Mhm.
of just random thoughts. I do them in English just because
Okay.
I'm so scared that someone I know will read it. That's like that's how paranoid I am.
Okay. No, that's really cool to hear. I've never heard like because I know a few people. I'm in Montreal, so there's French and English here.
Yeah.
And so I work with NaNoWriMo here, and we have a lot of authors who write in, French as well as English, and a lot of them prefer French. So I haven't heard that take on it, and I can get that because it's like you've got one little barrier. It's just like a little safety net.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can keep writing in English, and I mean, we would love to see more of your
I will.
writing. And I don't know Italian, unfortunately, though I would love to. So you can keep writing in English. I'll keep reading it, and then I'm sure you will get to writing in Italian eventually because
I'm sure too. I will
I
get
you are good enough, and I think that the
there.
people you know
Yeah.
would enjoy reading your work.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. As we wrap things up here, I like
Mhm.
to give you a bit more of a platform. I know you're on pause with YouTube, but what are you
Yeah.
working on right now? What creative stuff do you have coming up that you'd like to share with our Stygian audience?
All right. So I'm actually working on another short story that's still horror genre, but this time set in my town rather
Oh,
than Sardinia.
cool.
Um, so still Italy, but in English. Yeah. And I'm also working on a lot of poems because my next goal, I guess I would say, is to publish a poetry collection.
Okay, cool.
So there's that. As for YouTube, I do think the next thing I'm gonna work on is the reading vlog
Mhm.
um, about the Stygian Collection because I still haven't promoted it on my channel, and so I desperately, yeah, wanna do it, but yeah, I gotta find that spark.
Yeah. Have you started reading everything yet, or are you waiting until you get into that?
I am waiting,
Okay.
and that's why I have this need to do it, but I just can't seem to find the energy. I can't explain it, but I will. I will. Before the end of August, I promise.
Well, I can't wait to see it. I think you're gonna like the stories in there so much. Like there are, I mean,
I'm
every
sure.
single one is so different and so cool. And I've been inspired by reading it. So maybe if you just start a little bit, that will be your spark.
Yeah,
Could
yeah,
help.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that is a good note to wrap it up on. I really enjoyed chatting with you about the horror genre
Me
and
too.
crime. That's one of my favorite topics, and maybe we can collaborate on something in that area for
Sure.
YouTube when we're both back into it more.
Anytime.
With that, I will let you get to bed and I will be winding down my evening. Thank you so much again for joining for this interview. It's been
Thank
great.
you for
And
hosting.
yeah, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Me too.
Good night.
Have a nice rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye.